Hello, listeners. I'm Laura Benson, and I am so excited to be here with my favorite Lotus lady, Zian. Say hello, Zian.
Hi everyone. Welcome back to Lotus Chat.
Zian and I are so excited about this topic. The topic is called The Art of Letting Go, and kind of the subtitle is control. I am sure all of you listeners have it all under control. You don't have to worry about anything. But if you're me, I have a lifetime of trying to control, and it never seems to work. And if I work really hard at it, it gets worse.
And I suppose you have the co-expert here too.
Deanne, I have a co-expert. Yes, thank you so much. If you think about the time and effort we spend on ourselves trying to control people and things and outcomes, it's breathtaking and it's exhausting just to think of it. Think of all the people in our lives that we've tried to control that don't act the way we want them to. It's like, people.
No, I honestly think that it has to do with a lot of expectations. That's the big word that's on my mind the minute you start off just now. And I think for me, especially, when I want to control on something, when I want to take control, it's because I have a preconceived expectation in my mind. It's like a whole new world in my mind. You got to be A, B, C, D, and you got to look exactly like this. And of course, I probably, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't communicate that expectation. And, when I try to, gain control, for me, I think I probably just have too much expectations.
Oh, Zian, that is really wise. I like that. And I think you're absolutely right. It's the outcome we're trying to achieve. The problem is the outcome doesn't happen the way we want because we're trying to micromanage every step.
Yes. Yeah.
I just cannot stand working for someone who's a micromanager. It just grates on me. But think about how many times we micromanage others in our lives trying to get the outcome.
Oh dear, let's not get there.
Well, I'm the expert and you're the co-expert, so.
Yeah.
So, Zian, I'm going to ask you first, and then you turn the table and put me on the spot. What are our ways of being when we try to control the situation?
I think my ways of being when I try to control it's just very rigid. I think I noticed myself being that, and I fortunately or unfortunately noticed similar patterns within my parents. Not trying to blame, just trying to notice the patterns. And I guess when I notice that, it frustrates me, especially when I communicate with my parents. So my ways of being were definitely rigid because I have a certain idea about how things should work. And I think I have certain ideas of how it should end up like. And, I'm going to admit that that's not the best way to work sometimes. And what do you think about that, Laura?
I think that I'm probably quite similar. My ways of being, first of all, is I get very tense. Because there's so much inside, there's so many expectations. I start getting tense. And that's usually where my mind starts to go into what I call the death spiral. You start thinking and planning and strategizing and, what has to happen? Where do I have to be? And then this is the part I'm least proud of is I usually will go into either directive control or manipulative control. That's sweet or kind or damsel in distress. To maneuver where I want to go. I'm not proud of that, but that's an honest human interaction. And it's usually to get control or an end result. So Zian, why do you think it's so hard to let go of control? We learn it from somewhere, so why is it hard to let it go?
For me, it's because I think it's attachment. I think I'm very attached to something that is very familiar, attached to something in my past experience that I, presume will look a certain way, and I intend it to end up a certain way. Hence, I think, it's that attachment to something. What I think would be, or what I wanted to add on to that is that on top of attachment, I think it's also the idea that I'm in my comfort zone, because when I control or intend to control a certain outcome, I kind of know what the ending or the conclusion will look like. So I'm in my comfort zone thinking that that's how it's going to look like, and if I don't know how,
do you already plan what you're going to feel like when you get there while you're going through it?
Yes. Not really plan what I'm going to feel like. It's more like I anticipate that feeling.
Okay.
Right? Not really plan, more like anticipate. Like I know it's gonna feel like that, so it's like that, which is not really a good thing sometimes.
I start thinking about what it's gonna be like, what it's gonna feel like, how it's gonna look. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, why is it?
For me, it's hard to let go because it's a learned trait. We all learn things for survival. Our ego teaches us to survive. So we learn to survive, and it's a mechanism that we've learned to control. It's safety, it's protection. We think if we can somehow manage the outcome, then we will not have to have a bad experience. We won't have to be hurt. We won't have to redo something. We won't be embarrassed. We won't be shamed. And so I think all of avoidance of feelings that don't feel good, I think it's a learned response. So for me, it's hard to let go, because if I let go, what bad thing's going to happen? What's going to hurt me? What's going to all of that. So
totally,
inside, what terrible thing will befall me?
Yeah, totally.
Are there any triggers, Zian, that you know of in your life that where you say, "Oh, this is where I'm trying to get control"? Is there anything that particularly triggers you?
Definitely. But before I get there, I just wanted to continue off what you mentioned just now. You know how like when we imagine something, then we're trying to protect ourselves from that hurt, and we think that what's the bad thing that's going to happen. But I want to challenge myself and the listeners out there. When we envision a feeling, maybe we can anticipate what's the good that could come out of it, rather than what's the hurt, what's the potential negative feelings, but what's the good things that may come out of it. Works both ways, right? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And coming back to trigger, my trigger, honestly, it's always about time. So my trigger, I noticed that when I'm tight with timing, or maybe when I have committed to a certain time, I have in my mind a certain way of how it will look like, so that I could protect the time that I have, and that also happens because of the many characters and roles I need to play in my life, as a working mom, so wife, student, everything. Yeah. What about you, Laura?
Well, my triggers are a little different. My triggers are when I'm personally and emotionally vested in something, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a project I'm working on that I really want to shine. If it's a relationship that I want to succeed, if it is a dream that I have that I've been trying to bring to fruition. So for instance, I'm in the process of trying to find a new home in another state. And I'm really practicing not trying to control the steps to get what I want, instead of allowing it to flow. And I'm doing pretty good, but I feel triggered sometimes where it's like, I really want that. I really want that. This is how I want it done. And so I have to just I can't control the real estate market. I can't control interest rates. I can't control the contractor. Although I would like to think I could. So that for me, a trigger is something that I really want personally at the end. And I think if I'm not micromanaging, somehow it won't happen.
Yeah. And don't you find it like a very fine balance trying to let go, have the intention and let go versus, how the whole visualization of your dreams and trying to envision it to look like and visualize in your mind that, in your case, the dream home that you have in your mind. That's such a contrast, no? Versus, trying to let go.
I agree. So for me, in letting go, I've had to learn it the hard way. I just have had to say, stop, wait, look, and allow. So I have to allow things to kind of unfold. And when I do let go, it's amazing how something better will come along, or I won't have the stress, or the process will be more fun, the journey will be more fun. And I usually get what I want at the end. It just may look different. It may be better. It will be better. So for me, it's the process of letting go really was the emotional part of, oh my gosh, if I let go, then it'll all fall apart. And when I realized that it wouldn't, and it would probably be better, it's an easier practice for me now.
You mentioned the word allow, and that reminds me of something. I think the idea, what triggers me as well is my core nature when I need to action on things really fast. I'm a really very action-oriented person, but this is the moment when it backfires because I go like, what's my next point of action? What do I need to do? Is it this? Is it this? Like, what's next? So I find very recently as I mature, it's the idea that I just allow things to run its course. I just allow things, I allow the universe to happen and to kind of unfold. That's the word you use, to kind of unfold so that I could be participating in that, and just let the universe to be in control of that instead of me trying to control every single bit of it. So allowing time and, things around us to unfold as we go along with life. I think that is one of the most amazing feeling.
It is. And people in my life notice when I'm not trying to control. They're like, wow. And, we all try to control in our own way. I have an aunt that takes it to an art form. You can see control a mile away. So it isn't like, and all of you listeners, if you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't do that. Everybody does it. So don't even. But it's how do you implement it? How do you implement the control? How does it look for you? And I think that what really, if we can say to ourselves, I'm comfortable in who I am, and I'm comfortable where I'm at, and I'm comfortable in my inner strength, you don't need to control because you're comfortable in the present and allow things to unfold. But that's the journey to get where we're supposed to be getting to. But control is one of those things that we need to unlearn and learn the process of enjoying the trip.
Yes. And my suspicion is that the idea of control has been working until it's not.
It's an illusion in our mind that it's working.
Yeah, but probably in the past it has been working,
I think the illusion for me too of control is thinking when you're raising your children that you have control.
Yes.
They are individuals who are young, who are growing up. I remember, my son would pull a stunt somewhere and I'd be like, but I'm a controlling helicopter mom. But, he still did what he was going to do. So I think it's an illusion in our minds that we have control until we don't. I loved what you said. Until we don't.
Yeah. But why do you think it's beneficial for us to let go of that control?
Because we don't have to force life to happen. We can watch it unfold and let it happen. And think of my life is so much freer and less stressful because I am just allowing things to unfold. I have an example. My last client finished their work, and I didn't have a client to backfill, and I got a little nervous, and so I started trying to control the situation with heavy marketing and that kind of thing. And out of the blue, a client came to me as a personal reference from someone I hadn't seen for a while. And it's the best client ever. And no marketing was involved. No advertising was involved. It was a personal referral. And I'm thinking, what a great example of allowing life to unfold and to present something. But when we're so busy trying to control the outcome, we miss those golden opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that when we let go of that control, we are also allowing joy and openness and creativity to come into our life, because things does not need to look that way. Things get to look better than what we have in our mind. So, and by joy, I also mean that, you don't have to focus on, oh, why is it not look like that? So then we get to be present, like you say, and just really enjoy the moment and, have just relax and let go and enjoy.
Oh, yeah. I really loved how you said that. Being able to relax in the moment and be joyful. We were talking before we started tonight's session about creativity. And creativity can be squashed when we're stressed and we're worried and we're trying to control. Yes. But when we give up control, that's when creativity can flow. And I find I'm much more creative when I let all the other stuff go.
I love that, Laura. Thank you for saying that.
But we try so hard to be creative and we try to control the creativity and then nothing happens. So
yeah, and I suppose creativity is the art of letting go.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think I could certainly attest to that. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Our juices flow more when we're not holding on.
Yeah. Any last words, Laura, to our listeners out there?
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Zian?
Any last words to our listeners out there?
I just want to share with you that the art of the journey and the art of living life to the fullest is letting go of expectations and the outcome and the micromanagement of control. No one wants to be micromanaged.
Yes.
So be brave, let it go, see where life takes you. And that's the art of enjoying life. So let it go.
I love that. And to all the listeners out there, I just want to say that, sometimes whatever you're thinking in your mind, and if it's occupying your mind for too long and too much, everybody is too busy thinking about themselves, about how they feel and their to-do list. No one is available to think about you. So just let it go.
Deanna is absolutely right. No one else is thinking about it but you.
Yeah, so just let it go. So if you resonate with that and if you like that episode, I really encourage you to click like, subscribe, and follow us on both YouTube and Spotify. And today, our episode of The Art of Letting Go, if you notice, we are missing two of our two Lotus ladies, and they are happy to continue this conversation. So we'd love to hear from them on this topic that we're talking about, the art of letting go. In the following episode, we will be talking about finding your voice. So join us in the next episode. Signing off, I'm Zian and
I'm Laura. I can't wait to see you next week because we're going to talk about finding your voice. And I'm looking forward to that, Zian. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello. This is your girl, Jazzy.
And your girl, Jen.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Miss Ann and Miss Laura, for bringing up such great points. So just to recap, we have heard our ladies share about expectations, letting go of expectations and letting go of control, attachment to outcomes and comfort zones, and how the ego has a tendency to go into survival mode. And as they've mentioned, these are all very key components for what might be holding us back. So we want to go into the space of sharing how it's important or why it's important to surrender the stories that we tell ourselves, the limiting narratives, to uncover the true value of letting go.
Yes, Jazzy. And thank you for giving us that great recap of what, thank you, Laura and Zian, for really introducing everyone out there, listeners or viewers, to this topic. And I can say that yet again, I was so inspired just by all the things that they presented to us, their perspectives, their life stories, those things that really brought out what, being in that state of control, what it feels like, what it looks like. I mean, I could definitely relate to a lot of what Zian mentioned about being attached to an outcome, being attached to the familiar, allowing the ego to create, as Jazzy just said, those narratives about worry of what will happen if I cannot control this individual or this outcome or this situation. Personally, there's just so much that came to me, memories, experiences in my own life. Jazzy, I mean, just for what you just said, those narratives that keep plaguing our mental space. One powerful one I can think of is the narrative that, if I don't try to find ways to hold on to a situation, then I'll lose it and I won't be able to get it back. And, it will break my heart, or it will change my life completely and make me feel like something's missing. I can tell you, getting to that state of being, that state of mind, takes time, especially if you've had consistent experiences where that has been the feeling that you've had, that something is going to go in a negative way. And Jazzy, we were talking offline too about how there's these negative mindset that we could have, right? I mean, that you said there was a percentage you mentioned about.
Yeah. So I was in a mastermind that I got some great reminders, which was they spoke of, Joe Dispenza has brought up a good point too, where we have about 70,000 thoughts in a day, and about 80% of them are actually negative. So the challenge, or the opportunity actually, would be to, how do we let go of the 80, really hone in the 20, and create a new reality? Because that is where the value of what we can actually create is. It's the realm in which we want to explore. So how do we flip the script, create something new, so that way we can actually experience the paradigm shifting?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. And speaking of paradigm shifting, there are a couple of questions that do come to mind, because I know a lot of the listeners and viewers out there could probably relate to this whole idea of control, but also when you kind of feel like you're losing control of your mind, where you go into a sense of overanalyzation or anxiety, because you're in a state of wanting to control, because you're afraid of what the outcome will be. I literally had, two people ask me that question about, because we do mention the art of being in the flow, the art of surrendering, when we mentioned in our last episode on, delving into that feminine energy within us. And that was one of the things that came up for a couple of our viewers and listeners out there. Like, how are they able to flip the script and the narrative when they are in over analyzation and or anxiety when making a decision?
I'll tell you, it's pausing, it's understanding. I know I brought this up in a previous episode of how within our brain, we have the amygdala. It's a part of our brain that actually perceives danger, threat, and it's also responsible for reactions, responses. And it could also be experienced as warmth, or your brain fluttering and just being flooded, and you feel some sort of emotion, or just like a sense of stuckness or freezing. All of those responses are totally valid, but it's also the opportunity to pause intentionally, breathe, allow yourself to observe the situation rather than be overcome by it. Because there are more than just the narratives. The narratives could be your ego, your thoughts can be your enemy at times. Like, that is it's such humanity for that to be a thing. And it's totally okay. But if the goal is to personally develop and to master self, then mindfulness is so important. And I'm going to bring it back into the law of attraction, because what you think is what becomes, and also what you create within your mind is also the reality you're creating. So if within yourself you feel like you can't trust a situation, or you get anxious, or there's some false evidence appearing real, you have the choice to be overcome or stop um, from that false evidence, or you have the opportunity to face everything and rise. So which are you going to choose? What path? This can be, you can be held back by your limiting beliefs and your limiting decisions. But let me ask you this, is this going to equate to your best life? Is fighting for your limitations in support of your best life? So I do want to give you guys something. So if you are listening or watching, go ahead and please get a pen and paper out and ask yourself these questions as you uncover and explore the realms of letting go. This is what I have for you. So first, identify your limiting beliefs around a person or a situation, or even a memory. Second, change your story. I talked in the past about being the main character or the director of your life. So change the narrative, rewrite your script, okay? Now 3, stop the blame game, the self-deprecating language and conversations. Just take that moment to go ahead and say and remind yourself of the greatness that you do have inside. Write down something, all the things you're grateful for. Give that energy, attract more of those experiences. Next, embrace forgiveness, giving grace, whether that be yourself, someone outside of you, a memory, a situation. Really embody forgiveness, know what it means. Master your emotions, practice empathy, adopt the attitude of gratitude, and take care of yourself. Take the time to heal, because you have to feel it to heal it. And once you get to know, you get to flow. And once that happens, like you have nothing but opportunities. So that's what I got.
Beautiful, Jazzy. Thank you so much for providing our listeners and our viewers all of those great points in that list. And, you know, we will try to make sure that we put this down in the description box below for all of you, so you can reference it. You can at any time. And something did come up for me when you mentioned the law of attraction, which there's a whole other episode that we did on that. Definitely check that out, guys. And it was something that I thank you, Zian, for bringing up about this contrast of visualizing, let's say, your dream home versus letting go. Now, Jazzy, I love that was brought up, because there have been other, you know, books and videos that I've seen where people talk about the law of attraction. And is it really helping us let go if we are intentionally visualizing what we want in our life, or intentionally visualizing that relationship and that person, and intentionally wanting to feel what that feels like? You know, is it really the art of letting go? To me, I feel like the law of attraction being about energy and allowing the flow of energy to go out there from my mind to the universe is a form of flow, and that's a form of letting go. But I also think that letting go of the outcome or how it looks like is another way of being in the flow and letting go, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, it kind of comes full circle. So what do you think about that whole law of attraction versus letting go?
I see it as, how can letting go support what I want to attract? How does that support what it is that I want to welcome into my life? And when it comes to letting go, it's really learning to trust. And so when you let go of narratives, expectations, control, first of all, you feel free. You know, anything goes, and it's just, you have nothing but opportunity to have a good time or allow something new to happen. And the opportunity to laugh, the opportunity to elevate as a leader, as a learner, a student in this life, the school of life. That's what I call it. So everything is it's like a blank canvas. What do you choose to do with this? What are you choosing? So it's like holding on tightly to limitations or letting go to love your life, to love what you're doing, to live your best. That's what I see the verses as.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And you mentioned trust. And that is one of the biggest things that I wanted to also touch on with this subject about letting go. Because if there's anything that causes us to want to control, is that feeling that we don't trust in what is, we don't trust in the experience or in what the universe will be giving us. We're not fully open to receive. And I myself can say that I've had issues with trust. And that has made me want to have a sense of structure, a sense of wanting things to be in a certain way. And as Jazzy mentioned, fear, the false evidence appearing real in my life because of the fact that I definitely felt like I couldn't trust something or someone fully. Now, then it goes to the other extreme where I feel like I need to open myself so completely to someone. And then there comes the anxiety and the feeling like if I open myself completely to someone and I trust this person, I don't know what's going to happen. And the unknown can definitely cause a lot of fear. And that is where I think a lot of us Lotus ladies are coming from when we're explaining and sharing what the art of letting go really is to fully be in a sense of trust with not only yourself, but with the universe. And that's a big thing. That is a big, right, Jazzy? I mean, that's big, to allow yourself to just fully trust.
yeah, even for like our faith believers, whether that be God, whichever way that looks like to you, source, that energy, it's really asking yourself, do I want to lead a limited life with self-imposed limitations, or do I want to lead a limitless life of learning and being committed to continuous growing and knowing that nothing can actually hurt you more than you can hurt yourself. No one can actually hurt you more than you can hurt yourself. It's also our responsibility if we take things personally. We can either hang on to that or take it personal, take it offensively, harbor it, resent. And, that comes with a long list of negative emotions. We choose what we're holding on to. So something that I want to share is that the perspective shift is this: letting go can be experienced as an opportunity rather than a crisis. It can be that easy. It's just allowing the surrender to happen and take place, allowing love to sit there, be compassionate, to bring love to the suffering of yourself through your own thoughts. Like, be that compassion and allow the process to take its place. And you have to just trust that. Trust is such a huge part in it. Like, you have to let go of the old paradigm in order to live a new one. It's just what it is.
And once you let go, as you said, tell me, Jazzy, what does it feel like? Because I know for me, as I've started integrating the whole being in the flow, it's almost like I feel like when you're in the flow, everything else around you just seems to start to fit. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but I've been noticing things, guys, the last couple of days, where since I started like being in the flow, all of a sudden, like opportunities are popping up. Even if it's just something simple, like I'm in a parking lot and there's no parking whatsoever. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in this parking lot for hours. And sure enough, I get in there and somebody's pulling out right where I need to be. And I'm like, whoa, like I thought I was going to be, but you know what? All right. Or other things where like, I get a call from someone and they're asking me like, hey, like, do you want to try doing this today? And I'm like, I was just thinking about wanting to do that. And I haven't. And it's like, all these things are just starting to come in. Like I'm thinking it and then it just happens.
Once you let go.
Yeah. And there will be blockages. Like there will be times when you feel like certain things aren't really going your way, like one day or, you feel, oh my God, today is just not going. But as Jazzy mentioned, be in a state of gratitude, be in a state of being present, be in a state of allowance and acceptance of the fact that this situation is not going to turn out the way that you wanted, but maybe, tomorrow things will be different. I think that's where I got kind of stuck, Jazzy, where at one point in my life, I was like, boy, today was a bad day. This is going to be a bad week,
Yeah, so instead of imagining everything that could go wrong, imagine everything that could go right.
Yes. Yes.
And imagine who you could be in the moment, even when things feel wrong.
And what can we create? As Laura mentioned when she said creativity really is it, when you allow yourself to be in the flow, creativity flows. Like what can you create today if you're in the flow?
Innovate the moments that don't feel that great. Innovate them. And I dare you to create a perspective shift of flip the script. I dare you to flip the script on what your negative experience is, rewrite a narrative, redirect the energy that's happening in your life, because whatever you emanate is what you're attracting. And so you talked about, what does it feel like when I let go? It feels like freedom. It feels like wee. It feels like fun. It feels like me. It feels like I get to be in my authenticity, unfiltered, unmasked, and I get to continue improving if I need to. I get to share what it is that's really on my heart, and know that since if I'm unconditionally loving to myself, the world gets to experience the unfiltered, unconditionally loving version of me as well. So it's a win-win. I mean, that's what it's about, really. Like, letting go is about creating new realities and also creating win-wins. So it feels like possibility. It feels like whatever you want it to feel like.
Yes. Possibilities. To create new possibilities. Yes. And I think all of our listeners and viewers can definitely relate to that. When have we not asked ourselves, I want a new beginning. I want a new possibility. I want to, move. I want to change my surroundings. I want to meet new people. I want to XYZ. All of, when you're in the flow, you create the possibility for you to do just that. And the universe will answer you. But if you're blocked by these narratives that Jazzy's mentioned, then you're not allowing that energy to come into your life.
Then keep fighting for your limitations.
Exactly.
Until you decide not to.
Exactly. And that is why we are here today with all of you, our listeners, our viewers, to give you a window into, how you can stop those limiting beliefs, how you can shift that narrative and that perspective, how you can have richer relationships that are built on possibility rather than fear, because, so you had this experience in the past. It's going to be the same this time. You think
so what?
Exactly. Yeah. And what if it is? But maybe in those experiences, you are actually becoming more in tune with what you really want and what the universe really wants to give you. Because I know in my experiences, when it comes to relationships, all these relationships I've had have probably prepared me to become more true to myself, more authentic to myself, so that I can attract someone who is also in that same wavelength with me, rather than me trying to be something I'm not and trying to keep somebody in my life by being something I'm not. And that is what I found in a lot of my relationships. But you know what? It's time for possibilities. And I encourage all of you out there to think about, if you did not have limiting beliefs, if you let go of control, if you were in the flow, what can you create today? What possibility can you open up? Like, what is something that you've always wanted? And if you knew that there were no boundaries, no barriers, no blockages, what would that look like? Yeah.
And if any of this stuff has resonated or been useful for you, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and comment surrender.
Yes, and thank you all. As our fellow Lotus ladies, Laura and Zian mentioned, please do like, share, subscribe. Please tell share this video with friends, family, loved ones, and definitely tune in next week as we delve into our next topic on, we're going to go into finding your voice. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How
What
can
does
we,
it sound like?
what does it sound like? How can you harness that? We're going to talk about all that and more in our next episode. So thank you all for being here, for joining us. And we love you all.
Love you so much.
And we will see you again soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.